Welcome to AGK Media's Friday Fenndango. I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Eunice. Thanks for joining us tonight. We've got some emails, we've got some text messages, and later on in the show we'll do some call-ins. Maybe we can figure out what's going on with Shelley's headset at the same time. So stick with us. We're going to have a good time tonight. So I'm hearing some static coming from Shelley on her side. She can't hear it. What we need to know from you guys is when you hear Shelley talk, whether or not you can hear it, because we do have some options, but we're hoping we don't have to implement them because we just got her this new headset. So are you doing okay on that side? Great lighting, though. Shelley's at home in her new studio, and I'm at my place in my new studio. So we're going to come to you tonight from those two locations. Let me turn my volume up just a little bit. I look a little bit low right there. Let me see. How's that? Do I sound better? Yeah. Okay, so here's what's going on tonight. I have some emails that we're going to get through. I have some text messages, including one about the newly discovered treasure chest, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And then we'll talk about some calls. But before that, I want to talk about what's happening with AGK Media and what we're going to be doing in the next couple of weeks. So on the Fenn side of AGK Media, I'm going to continue doing the Forrest Fenn Friday Fenndango show on a weekly basis every Friday night, 7 p.m. We'll be having at least 2 new Fenn-related shows for you starting in February. But next week, on Wednesday, February 6th at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, we will be hosting a panel with myself. Shelley will be producing that night, and 4 other members. And we're going to be discussing Jenny Kyle's 6 questions and Forrest Fenn's answers to those questions. And that's because traditionally Jenny has released them on Mysterious Writings on February 6th of each year. We're hoping she does the same thing. If she doesn't, then we're going to have to pick up a panel topic that's different, but we assume that she'll keep to the tradition of releasing them on February 6th. So we'll go through those. We'll ask everybody's opinions on what the key question and key answer was for this year, and see whether or not that motivates everyone to start searching as early as they did last year after Fenn's gut feeling told us somebody was going to find the treasure. So, which of course didn't come to pass. So, but hey. Otherwise, it wouldn't be any fun at all, would it be? So, Shelley, you had some other announcements as well regarding AGK Media. Why don't you see if we can push those through and see what the static situation is?
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So William says it's actually February 4th that Jenny Kyle puts out her
February.
Her
Wait a minute.
6 questions.
So today's the 1st, 2nd, 3rd.
Well, that would be Monday.
I thought it was February 6th.
Well, I think it's the 4th, and William says it's the 4th.
Oh, all right. Well, we're still having a panel session on February 6th, giving us 2 days lead time. Why do I have it on February 6th? Do me a favor, guys. Have a fight in the chat room and let me know whether it's February 4th or February 6th.
Somebody look it up.
Okay, somebody look it up and find out. Okay, so that's that. And then?
And then, let's see. So we are expanding our channel. As you know, AGK is bringing on additional producers, and Toby and I are going to kick that off next week with the panel on Wednesday night, and Thursday, the softer side at 1 o'clock. And Toby and I will be teaming up again on Thursdays, 1 o'clock Mountain Time, to have wonderful discussions about a variety of topics concerning relationships and life and everything in between. So I hope that you will join us. This one's going to be multi-streamed from AGK Media channel and the Softer Side channel. So you can join us on either one.
Yeah. And the conversation in this case will not be limited strictly to sex. So we're gonna
no, we're not going to limit it.
Oh, we're not going to limit it. Yeah, no, is that what I said? It's not going to be limited just to sex, right?
That's
We're gonna
right.
we're gonna cover a lot of topics.
That's
So,
absolutely.
so that's on Thursdays at 1 p.m., which was the same time we used to have book club. So we
Mhm.
thought that was a good time for us. We were comfortable. Shelley's over on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so we felt like that was a good time for both of us for that. So what else? And then, as I've mentioned in the past, we've had several. I don't want to say several dozen. We've had a dozen or so applications for new programming. We're starting to meet with those folks on Tuesday to learn more about what they want to do. I was very excited to hear there are at least two of them that want to continue Fenn related discussions. And I feel like there were some other really interesting ones as well, including a person who wants to uh, into a conversation with the folks in chat regarding ciphers and puzzles, etc., etc. So it's going to be an extension of the Fen treasure hunt, but more focused on puzzles and ciphers and crosswords and some of the things that people like to discuss independent of the Fen treasure. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. What do you think?
I think everybody agreed with me that it's the fourth. Sorry, I was looking at my chat room. But yeah.
All right. Well, even better. That gives me. So we're still. I'm not changing the panel date. We're still going to
Right.
do the panel on Wednesday, February 6th at 7 p.m. And the topic will be the 6 questions, the mysterious writing 6 questions. So, you want to say hi to folks in the room?
Sure. So I think that my problem earlier was because I'm running
Well,
the
now your volume is too low.
program.
I don't know what to do with your volume now.
Let me turn my stuff up. Let's see. Is that better? Can you
What
hear me
did you
better?
think it was?
Ooh, that was loud.
Yeah, that's my volume, not yours.
Okay. That's all I got. What did I think I was? Oh, that I had YouTube running on the same
Oh, yeah, that's probably
computer.
it. But now I've lost your volume. Talk to me.
Well, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
the question is, can everybody else in the room hear you? Can you hear
Okay.
her, Steve? So
Okay.
I actually have a guest tonight. It's a gentleman.
Yeah.
I'm just going to introduce him as Steve, and he's here to see what we do to live stream through Zoom and OBS and out to our YouTube channel because they're thinking about live streaming. They have a group that discusses topics related to voting rights here in New Mexico, and there are several bills in the New Mexico legislature at the moment going through, and going through the legislative process. And so Steve and his group want to make sure that all the people who are interested in these various things can learn about them. And they're looking at live streaming on their own channel. They have a Facebook page and a YouTube channel. Is that right? And so they're thinking about using those tools. And so a mutual friend, my friend Janet Bridgers, asked if we could host Steve tonight so he can kind of see what's going on here in the background, behind the scenes, in the command center, as I like to refer to it. Okay, I'm sorry, I interrupted you again.
Oh, so let's go ahead and say hello to our friends in the chat room. We have Karen Werner, David Dow, Bill Cross from Texas, Thrill Chaser from Colorado, the Hoosier Sisters, Cindy, yes, AJ Rainville, John Werner, who is Karen's husband, is here. Hooley is here. William, Finders Keepers, world famous gamer, and the art of tracking. Is the treasure still out there? As far as we know, yes.
So our traditional response to that is that we have no evidence of any kind that indicates that the treasure has been recovered. So we assume that it is still out there.
We have Jeremy Milstead, Charles Chapman, Redneck Express, J.A. Street, Parzival the Wise,
Isn't that
Redneck.
one of the names of the Parsifal was one of the Knights of the Round Table?
Mhm. Sakar, Jim Harris, Eric Schmidt, Jim Ellison, Fenn Treasure Hunters, Steve Gahagan. Let's see. Ad, This is a tough one. Adoniram Judson,
That sounds like a very
Adoniram,
biblical name, doesn't it?
Adoniram, or it's backwards, but it's Adoniram. And Adoniram says, Shelly sounds good and looks great. So, thank
Hmm.
you.
Well, of course.
We have OK Larry.
Oh, that's a new name.
Yeah.
So, Toby Fan's wife, Karen, was the first one in the room tonight.
hmm So, Adoniram wants to know if you can play the Thrill of the Chase song. Do you have that?
Is that the little guitar song that what our friend wrote? You know what? I don't have it set up. In order for me to play something, I actually have to set it up and put it into OBS scene before the show, and I hadn't done that. But
Get it Wednesday. How about that?
no, not on panel
Next
day. I'll
Friday.
do it next Friday.
Next
Yeah, I'll do
Friday.
it next
Okay,
Friday.
cool. Maverick Searcher is here. Mark Connor. Blue Mango. Goldilocks. Jerry Harris.
Jamie
Yeah.
Harris. Jamie Harris.
Jerry.
Oh, there's also a Jamie Harris. I wonder if they're related.
Well, I also said hello to another Harris, Jim Harris, and DAK. I haven't seen DAK in a while. Jason Hamilton, and oh, Jamie Harris. Yes,
Yeah,
they're all here.
Sakar
The whole
says.
Harris family.
So Sakar says your volume is still very low. Do me a favor and get into your sound control panel and see if you can
Okay.
bump it up in there. I'll be talking while you're doing that.
Okay.
Okay, so first let's go through some emails that I got this week, unless you guys have some specific questions. It is a lot easier for me if you do have a question related to the Fenn treasure hunt, if you text it to the 1866 number. That's 1866 597 9901. You can, at this moment, also leave a voicemail of up to 2 minutes, which I can play on the air. And then after I go through the emails and the text messages, we'll open up the phone line so you guys can call in and we can discuss stuff. Okay? So this one is from Butterfly Garden. The subject is dead dog painting. Just watched your page, I imagine they meant video, in which you were discussing the painting The Dead Dog by Gilbert Gall. I actually have seen the painting in a copy of the catalog, but wanted to see it up close, and it was nice that you enlarged it a bit and challenged the color variation, and changed the color variation to allow us to see the details. You're welcome. Just thought I would mention to you, though, that you overlooked, I always hate when people tell me that I've overlooked something. It's even worse when they don't tell me what I've overlooked, right? So I don't mind you telling me. I don't mind suffering the fact that I've overlooked something, but it would be a lot more helpful if you told me what I overlooked. So let's see if our friend does this here. So just thought I would mention to you, though, that you overlooked something very important in the painting. You might want to have another look at it, and there is some symbolism to it. I'm sure Gilbert Gall painted it for a reason. He was trying to make a statement about war. Wow, never picked up on that. Forrest chose to mention it for a different reason than Gall painted it, but they were really illustrating the same thing. But what is more important about this painting is that it was traded by Forrest for a French watercolor. And the French watercolor, I thought it was a couple of French watercolors, wasn't it? And the French watercolor also sends a message. I've never seen the French watercolor, so you have that advantage. I don't. It is the symbolism in both paintings that tell us what the poem is really talking about. I didn't arrive at the conclusion by looking at the painting, though. I arrived at this conclusion by defining the words in the poem that taught me something. Rats, I can tell this is not going to help me. Something, and the painting confirms it for me what the poem has said. All this is my opinion, but I just thought you might want to go back and have another look at the Gilbert Gall and see what you missed. It is important. Well, Butterfly, this would all be a lot easier if you were to explain to me exactly what I missed, because in a metaphorical way, you've said that there's something there, but you haven't told me what it is. So I have no idea what I missed. But thank you anyway. Thanks for the letter. Okay, what do we got here? Now I sound scratchy. I feel like I'm peaking. Check. Okay. So this is from Dave. And Dave, I'm not going to mention your last name. Hi, Toby. Just leaving Las Vegas. Attended WWF, World Wrestling Federation. The Wide World of Fenn poker game and gathering with my Copper Dan. I imagine he meant my friend, Copper Dan. He coaxed me into the search. Copper Dan, well done. The more the merrier is the way. The more people that are feeling the pain of not finding this treasure, the better it is for the rest of us. So share that pain. Touching base with you to see if there's a chance to meet. Oh, just for coffee. My wife and I are staying in Albuquerque for the next couple of weeks. When did this? Oh, long story. We're retiring copper artists, selling our business to a local Albuquerque artist. And he left his phone number. You know what, Dave? I'm sorry. I didn't realize when I printed this out what this message was about. You gave me your phone number. I will call you tomorrow and see if we can get together for coffee, perhaps Sunday afternoon. And I would be happy to meet with you. I wonder if the copper artist is selling his business to my son Jason here in Albuquerque. Jason hasn't said anything. Would that be unusual if I didn't know that?
Well, he doesn't really work in copper, does he?
Well, he's thought about moving into copper. He has thought about it. He's thought about moving out of tin, not expanding out of tin into other metals. So, Dave, I will call you tomorrow. Are you hearing that peaking on my end, Shell? Are you hearing it? I wonder if everybody in the room is hearing it. Okay. All right. So, hello, Shelley. Oh, man, that is really killing me now. Hello, Shelley and Toby. I am a reinvigorated searcher for Fenn's treasure. My OCD has kicked in again. To date me a little, I flew out to Utah, border of Dinosaur National Monument, with my dad back before Mr. Fenn ruled out the Idaho and Utah. Oh, that would date you a lot. I had a great solve, like we all do. Obviously, it wasn't there, but we had a great trip. Thanks for all the great videos. I have watched several of your YouTube's posted videos in the past week. I love that binging. I'm trying to track down the BBC World Services recording that Jonathan Jones. Is Jono in the room?
I haven't seen him.
Oh, okay. Jono, so I watched, I'm trying to track down the BBC World Services recording that Jono mentioned in the roundtable discussion about 4 months ago. It was about the language Mr. Fenn used to describe how close searchers had been to the treasure and other clues. Did Jonathan ever give you guys the link to that BBC recording? Gosh, I remember an email where he may have sent it, but I didn't post it. That's what I would have to do. I'll check with Jono and see if indeed he has that link, and I'll post it in the description box of this video since we're dealing with a question. If you could pass it along or let me know where to find it on your website, I would be grateful. Yeah, we'll put it in the description box of this particular video. I don't have any confidence solutions for any of the clues right now. Join the club. I'm actually trying to step back and open my mind to all possible interpretations. If I can help with your solution, solve, he said. The only thing I would say is don't forget that it is too far to walk between supposed clues 1 and 2 and the rest. Yeah. We believe the distance between clue 1 and clue 9 is less than 1,000 feet. Is that fair, Shelley Carney? Less than 1,000 feet?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is not too far.
Old man with cancer. Come on.
Exactly. This is from Michael. Michael says, hello, I would like to thank you for your videos, information, and updates on Fenn Treasure Hunt, and I would like to see if I may get Fenn's email address, if that is at all possible. I'm planning my first expedition in the next month. Wow. When did he write this? January. So that's in February. That's going to be too early, Michael. You're gonna run into trouble. Yeah, it's still going to be cold. I'm planning my first expedition the next month or two, taking my wife and 3 young children. And no, I'm just kidding. I didn't know. And we'd like to speak to Fenn and possibly meet him. If you could help me out, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for what you do. For those of you that don't know, you can send an email to forrestfenn@gmail.com. That's his public email address. Whether or not he answers you is a completely different question. Okay, so let's go to text messages from this week and see what we've got. Text messages, and I think we have a couple of voicemails.
Wow. While you're doing that, can I just take a quick peek at the chat here?
Yeah, go ahead.
And we have a few messages from Jim Harris. And Jim says, we have watched you since the first day we started researching. This live feed has been the best thing. Call me, Dara and Jom. And he goes on to say, are bears a worry? And then he says, we sold our company to find the treasure. Partially, mainly for a free, thoughtful life. We are moving to Santa Fe, then moving wherever the world takes us. Would love to meet you all.
So that's not the same person that sent me the email, right?
I don't think so.
Oh.
And then he says, we have messaged Dale, but love y'all. We are moving to Santa Fe until the winter melts up north.
Santa Fe is a good place to hunker down for the winter. It's got weather, but whatever snow it gets, it melts by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But yeah, if you
think bears are a worry in Mexico. The further north you go.
Oh, that was one of the questions?
Yeah.
Oh no, bears. So we have black bears in New Mexico, but they are sparse. There aren't a lot of them around, and they're hibernating right now, so you wouldn't run into them anyway, unless you manage to crawl into one of the places that they're hibernating. That might make them mad, but no. And even in the summer months, we do have a bear hunt season in late October, early November, and it is lotteried. And the reason it's lotteried is we just don't have that many black bears, and they use the hunt season to cull the herd, if you will. So you don't get into bear problems until you're up in northwestern Wyoming. That's where the big brown and grizzly bears are. So not that black bears are any friendlier. As a matter of fact, black bears are much more unpredictable. They will walk towards you like they just want to be petted, and then when you put out your hand to pet them, they bite it off, basically. So don't mess with black bears, and don't run from black bears, because black bears will chase you down. So bear spray, okay? Just lots of bear spray. Just take bear spray with you. But on the other hand, we've been out. I've been in the mountains in New Mexico most of my life, and I have never, ever seen a live black bear. So take that. Let's see. So let me get back to our questions here.
All right.
Let's see. Hello, I was just curious if anyone else has figured out the blaze with 100% certainty. No. Nobody has figured out the blaze with 100% certainty, because if one had figured out the blaze with 100% certainty, then all they would have to do is look quickly down to find the treasure. So there are lots of people that claim they know what the blaze is, but none of those people have the treasure. So I figure if you've got the blaze, you've got the treasure. The other thing is, we don't feel like you would be able to find the blaze without being boots on the ground. So if you think you have the blaze and you haven't been boots on the ground, then there is a 95% probability you haven't figured out the blaze. Sorry for that kind of bad news. Please send the link to the Libra J Talker from last Friday's show. I cannot find it via search. So I did the same thing that everybody did. I can't remember who was talking about it. Was it Copper Dan that was talking about her last week? And she had, right after I finished the show, I went and looked at her channel. There were 3 videos up there. They reminded me a little bit of the R.F. Hecky style of video, where you don't actually see her face. She's pointing her camera in the direction of a book or something else, and then you hear her voice in the background, very gentle voice. But whatever we did that night, for any of us, must have scared her, because right after that, she took all her videos down and closed her channel. So Apparently, she didn't care for the notoriety, whatever notoriety there would have been. So that's why you can't find her if you've tried to find her. That's J Talker Libra. Okay. Oh, man. Okay. Long question here. Hi, this is James from Texas. Is that JR from Texas? Didn't we talk to JR last week? I've just listened to your video on how far Fenn could have traveled while he thought he was dying. I think he was thinking of a one-way trip to hide the treasure and die right there. Yeah, at that time, that was true. To me, this scenario would not rule out the Hebgen Lake area. I don't know, but anything is possible. Related to my question above, there was no question above, actually. There is no question above. So let me see. Related to my question above, what evidence, theories, etc., do you have that the treasure is in New Mexico other than a dying man not being able to travel? So, first of all, we we don't have solutions. We believe that everybody has theories because everybody had a solution to a problem. If you're on a submarine and somebody has a firing solution, that means you have a solution that will cause a torpedo from that submarine to do whatever damage it's supposed to. That's the firing solution. It's completed. It's done. And you know exactly what's going to happen. I don't feel like any of us have solutions. We have theories, right? We all have theories that are potentially provable. So all of us have theories. We have a theory that the treasure is in New Mexico. Our theory that the treasure in New Mexico is as valid as your theory that it's not in New Mexico, right? So all our theories have equal validity, equal levels of validity, because nobody has the treasure. We have used, like everyone else, we have some what we think are rational assumptions. Fenn saying he hid it somewhere in the mountains north of Santa Fe. The video that Shelley did on him traveling when he was sick. So there are probably 5 or 6 videos out there that explain why we believe the treasure is in New Mexico. There are probably 5 or 6 more videos out there that explain why we believe it's not in Yellowstone. But those are theories. So it's a theory. Our theory is that the treasure is in New Mexico. It is no more valid or invalid than your theory of where the treasure is, if it's not in New Mexico. So I can't answer the question, right? I can't. What you're asking for is what evidence do you have that the treasure is in New Mexico? The answer is none. We don't have any evidence. Like no one else. We have some statements that Fenn has made, which wouldn't hold up as evidence in court. It's hearsay, basically. He once said he hid a treasure in the mountains north of Santa Fe. Well, the rationale for us in that case is, if I was hiding a treasure in Wyoming, why would I tell you that I was hiding it in the mountains north of Santa Fe, right? It wasn't until 2013 that he started. There's a video, you can look it up on our channel, and it's called Fenn Discovered the Rocky Mountains in 2013, because that's when he started talking about the Rocky Mountains with the publishing of Too Far to Walk, which included the big map. Up until that time, the Rocky Mountains were never a question of where the treasure, or were never included in the conversation about where the treasure was. So, let's see. Is this a... Hang on. So this isn't a voicemail. It's a really long message. So I'm going to read it. It's from... So I'm only going to use your first name. It's from area code 615, which I think is the San Francisco Bay Area. Is that not right? He says, Toby, my name is Chris, and he provides his last name. And I'm wanting to discuss something with you. I am almost certain I know where the Fenn treasure is located. Ooh. You must be new to this game, Chris. No offense, but when we're new to this, we all know where the treasure is located. I don't know oh, wait. So wait a minute. There's a contradictory sentence here. Just a sec. I am almost certain I know where Fenn's treasure is located. Followed by the sentence, I don't know exactly where it's located, but I'm almost positive of the park or trail area it's hidden within a 2 to 3 mile radius. I'm sure you've heard it all, but I have email confirmation from Forrest himself that verifies I have the first clues correct. I haven't shared the confirmation with anyone. If you're interested in discussing a combined search effort, contact me at, and he gives me his phone number. I'll explain why I'm asking for a partner search companion when we talk. So, Chris, if you would like to discuss this further, first of all, Shelley and I are not looking for the treasure. We have stopped looking for the treasure, and we explained very clearly in our October program why we've done that. But I would be happy to listen to you if you want to call in. Once I open up the phone lines, just call in the 866 where you sent the text message, 866-597-9901, and you can tell us your story. All right, so this is from Gilbert at area code 954. Wow, another long message. Okay, be patient, guys. So Gilbert says, Fenn says that the treasure is at least 8.25. Oh, man, I can already tell this is going to get complex here. Fenn says that the treasure is at least 8.25 miles or 66,000 chain links north of Santa Fe, New Mexico. Why would he say such a specific number thing? Because people were digging in yards in Santa Fe, and he wanted to. What you discover is that distance puts you out of the Santa Fe city limits, and you wouldn't be digging in Santa Fe, and that's what he was trying to stop at the time. People were digging in other people's backyards. Why would he say so? I think it's because that's around where the treasure is. I know he wouldn't put it in the mountains, which is what the other three states mostly are, because the mountains are his church, he says in his book, and he wouldn't bury himself in a church. Also, why would he add Santa Fe in the map if it's not really part of the Rocky Mountains? With that being said, Santa Fe could be where warm waters halt, because he said, oh, he's going on here for a while. Okay, so we got a lot of theoretical stuff here. Journey, part of the poem, start with the beginning. Okay. So I'm not going to read. I'm not going to read all of this because it's theoretical, and it deals with that primarily with that 8.25 miles. So first of all, you've got to remember that the area outside of Santa Fe is not public land. If you drive any place north of Santa Fe, until you get up into near the, it would be the Carson National Forest at that point. What you're going to discover is most of the land that's directly north of Santa Fe. If you go up 285, for example, or not as much, and I-25, but if you're going towards like Taos on 285 and then 64, that land is almost equally divided between private land, land grant land, white. It's white. I don't want to say white land. It's white on the map. It's private land. And the likelihood that he had hidden a treasure on private land is slim to none. And then there's a lot of Native American land, a lot of Pueblo land, tribal land, and it's likely not on there. It isn't until you get to areas where there are parklands and state forest lands and then national forest lands that make the lands public. Up until that point, if you're not in the Santa Fe National Forest or the Carson National Forest, then you're on either private or tribal lands, which don't make sense for him to have hidden a treasure upon, or you're on BLM land. Now, it is possible, but honestly, the area north of Santa Fe is what is referred to as high desert, and it's actually not very pretty. I don't think of it as very pretty. I don't think it's pretty until you get up until the forested lands that are in the Santa Fe National Forest and the Carson National Forest. So, Gilbert, if the treasure is just outside that 8.25 miles north of Santa Fe, and while it isn't in the mountains, because the mountains is his church, et cetera, using your logic, the problem with that is it's private land, and what isn't private land up in that area is tribal land. Just pull out your BLM map. Look at your BLM map for that area. A lot of private, a lot of tribal land. Comment, Shelley? Do you have any comments, or are you just listening here patiently while I yammer on?
The chat, and Jim wants to know if we can have coffee sometime, and I'm sure.
send us our email address is gypsieskiss@gmail.com, or you can send a text to or leave a voicemail at the 866 number. And yeah, I'll call you back or text you back, and we'll set something up if you find yourself in Albuquerque. So not everybody comes to Albuquerque. So this is from 650. So 650, it's from Alan. Oh, hi, Alan. How are you doing? Alan K., our friend from, I can't say that. Alan says, Mysterious Writings annual recap is coming from Forrest on February 4th. Do you think he will reveal anything groundbreaking or just stick his head out of his vault and declare 6 more weeks of winter? It's kind of like the the Forrest Fenn Groundhog Day. So I think I made comments on this. I think there will be more than 6 questions. There will be lots of questions divided into those 6 segments. I think Forrest will pick whatever question in the one is the easiest to answer without him actually working too hard at it. And then I think there'll be a proverbial slip of the pen where he throws something in there that will cause us our conversational levels to the noise level, the white noise level, to increase for a couple of months. Whether or not I do not think, as usual, we will learn anything that will get us closer to finding the treasure, because that's been the pattern in the past. So he's very good at that. He's very good at giving us things like sound like they're helpful, but really are just kind of a Fennism.
Well, we have a new searcher in the room, Baby Hustle 3, and they were asking about Canada's solutions.
He once slipped, and when he released the map that went in the back of Too Far to Walk, he said that the map maker had stopped the map, the benchmark maps, who was printed the map, had stopped the map at the Canadian border. He said that was an intent because the Rocky Mountains went further than that, but I've never heard Fenn say that the treasure is in one of 4 states, right? New Mexico, Colorado. I've heard him say it's in the Rocky Mountains, but I don't know that I've ever heard him say it's in the 4 states. If you guys have a reference to that, I think I've asked for this in the past. I've never heard him say it's in New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, or Montana. He says it's in the Rocky Mountains, the Rocky Mountain states, et cetera, et cetera.
But anyway, this was Moby Dickens, and he basically said the treasure, if you knew where it was, it would be on this map. And
right.
The map only goes up to Canada. So basically he's saying it's not in Canada in not so many words.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I'm always hesitant to try and quote him directly because I end up paraphrasing him, and that upsets him when I do that. But he said something like he held up the map. He said, "If you know where the treasure is, you'll find that location on this map." The map ends at the Canadian border, so that's why we've never considered a Canadian solution. Brad from Pennsylvania was curious on your thoughts of the missing S in Too Far to Walk poem. It says answer instead of answers. Do you believe this was intentional? So the discrepancy came at one point between the definition of the poem and the on his website, in the poem in the book, and I think he's addressed that before, and he said that was an error. It was a typo of some kind, and that the correct version is the poem in the book. So we went with that. All right. Question from area code 412. Hey, Toby, any thoughts if you've been wise and found the blaze being in the past tense? You two should try some green screen with some cool treasure backgrounds. That would really be cool. You're right, it would be. But this is my apartment, and the last thing I want is to have a green screen hanging behind me here to do that. We could do that. We have the technology. We've always just gone with our backgrounds. We're happy with them. We live in houses. Well, I live in an apartment. Charlie lives in a house. I will be living in a house soon. This is just where we live. So, and I'm not sure that that it would help. I mean, Not a bad idea, and I'm not putting it down. It's just that it's extra work. And what we've tried to do, Shelley and I have tried to do, is reduce the amount of effort it takes to put on a live stream or make a recording, because that's part of our pitch. If any of you who have taken our Udemy course, we tell you that the most important thing is the content that you're producing, and whether or not you have a green screen background is not as important as whether or not you're putting out informational content. Content that is either informational or education, and people are benefiting by it. So, it is cool. We don't disagree, but it's extra effort, and if we can do what we're doing now without doing that extra effort, then we're just as happy with that, and we hope you are too.
Soon we'll have an office just for live streaming.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Actually, the new house that the house that I'm moving into has an extra bedroom, a third bedroom, and we're going to turn that bedroom into our live streaming office and studio, and we'll customize it with lights and maybe paint the back wall green so that we can.
They
Okay.
call it Hollywood Green.
Yeah, Hollywood Green. That's what it's called, Hollywood Green, Hollywood Blue.
Yeah.
So I just got a new voicemail message from my granddaughter Mila.
Oh,
Shall I play it?
I don't know.
We never know. I'm going to play it. Hang on just a second. I'm going to play this. So my granddaughter Mila, how old is she?
She's 4.
4.
My
So
favorite age.
she is just cuter than a button, and she's got this really kind of deep voice, and she has a it's not a phone, is it?
Yeah, well, it's a VTech cell phone for
Right. It's
children.
that enables her to communicate via, so she can send me text messages and voicemail messages, and so she sends them, and they're just cute. I'll play this one. You guys will be able to hear it. So here's a quote. Oh, this is from 316. His name is Michael, and he says, "Shelley, you are amazing." Didn't even ask a question. Just Shelley, yours. Oh,
Yeah.
wait. He does have a question. Where do you guys believe that warm waters halt? We believe that warm waters halt at the point at which the Colorado-New Mexico border crosses the Rio de los Pinos. You'll have to look that up on a map. Hang on. Let me go see if I can find this Mila message. You're going to listen to my granddaughter, my 4-year-old granddaughter, guys. You asked for it. Let's see. Is it actually a message? Oh no, she presses the button and she
Oh.
forgets to hold it down. So this is what I get. Listen, this is a Mila message. Say, all it is a click. Let me find an older one. Okay, here's a Mila message. She calls me Poppy. Okay. Can you hear it?
I can't.
Oh, maybe it doesn't play back on the. Maybe it only works with the call. Oh, I know what I have to do. Hold on. Oh no, I can't.
Here's an interesting message from Lavender Blonde.
Ooh.
I recently saw a stick figure drawn of Toby on Jason's YouTube video for mug art. There looked to be a lot of cats and Toby wearing a robe. I have no idea what this is about.
I'm sorry, I missed that. So it was a stick figure of Toby with cats in a robe, neither of which I'm
Jason's
physically.
mug art?
You know what? It's she might mean Jason Dent as opposed to Jason
Oh,
Eunice.
okay.
That sounds more likely that it's Jason Dent, one of our.
So your
For those
son's
of you
not
who don't.
much in the way of drawing.
Yeah, Jason's a tinsmith,
Well, a
not an
stick
artist.
figure, I think. You could-
Jason Dent is Fenn Treasure Hunters on YouTube. So I think that's who she's
probably what
talking
it
about. Let's see. Oh, listen. Okay, so 513 says, Toby, maybe I missed it, but what do you think about the identical box found in the Detroit Museum? Could it be indulgence? Okay, so you want to? Shall we talk about this for a little while?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, so first of all, I have never called the treasure chest indulgence. I think naming the treasure chest, in my opinion, is just a distraction. I don't even know where it came from. I think it happened on Dale's site, and someone referred. The treasure chest is not called indulgence. So for those of you, and you should probably already know this, someone discovered that there is a treasure chest very similar to the one Fenn claims he had, as an artifact in the Detroit Institute of Art, and they have it in their artifacts storage. So let's see. Let me just fix this guy right here for just a second. So we're going to put you in timeout. Swim Google. So somebody discovered it was out there. The Hoosier sisters have a show on it. They produced a show earlier this week on the topic, and part of the conversation involved the fact that the woman who is the curator at the museum, the primary curator, had said that she had received 5 calls. There is a picture on their website. If you go to the Detroit Institute of Art and you do a little bit of searching, you can actually find the chest, a photograph of the chest. And it is almost exact, and I'm going to use the word almost exactly like Fenn's treasure chest. The differences with the treasure chest in the Detroit Museum is that the nomenclature associated with it indicate that that particular treasure, the one that's in the museum, was donated to the museum in 1969, and that one of their curators identified it as having been made around the late 19th century. So that would have been the late 1800s. Hang on, Steve. Let's talk tomorrow. Okay, good. My pleasure.
Bye.
So so those were the two things. The number of questions have arisen about is that Fenn's treasure chest. What I can tell you is that after analyzing it, after looking at both chests very carefully, there are differences between the two chests. That the one that Fenn has indicated he hid the treasure in, and the one in the Detroit Museum are very different from one another. They are two different chests. It doesn't mean, and the areas where they're different are if you were casting a bronze chest, it would be the place where you have the freedom to change it. So then the question that came up, well, didn't Fenn say that his chest had a provenance that dated back to the mid-1100s? It had a Romanesque style. So let me address that first, but then I want to talk about with Shelley about a question that she brought up here earlier today. And that is the siege style, that motif of a siege, whether it's the Castle of Love or the church, and both of those have been used for that particular, the motif that's in Fenn's treasure chest is a siege. And during the Central Middle Ages, the Middle Ages lasted from around the mid 400s to around the mid 1400s. So 1,000 years, from 450 to 1450 were the Middle Ages. And that motif of the siege was used in a lot of that art, in a lot of that medieval art. So finding a siege in that period is not unusual. Fenn said that there was an antiquities dealer, and I think his last name was Gate, if I remember correctly. You guys can tell me. That identified at the chest as being of that provenance, of being of that period, around 1150, which in terms of the motif could have been reasonable, right? 1150 could have been reasonable for that particular motif. What was less reasonable to me was that it was rare that you'd see a bronze piece with that. Most of the pieces that had that motif were either paintings or cut into softer things like ivory. I didn't see a lot of castings from that period. Another thing is that when Fenn talks about it in the book, he says that the antiquities dealer who identified it for him said it might have held a Bible or a Book of Days. Now, in that period, in 1150, paper was not common to the unwashed masses, right? Not everybody had paper to write upon. It was reserved for the scribes that were working for what was effectively the royalty. So the Book of Days is basically your journal. In addition to that, the Bibles, the first Gutenberg Bible, prior to around 1400, when the Gutenberg Bible was printed, up until that time, Bibles were the work of scribes in the monks in churches. So they were all hand drawn, and Bibles, because they were hand drawn large pieces of sheepskin, basically dried sheepskin, a Bible with everything in it would have been huge. They didn't do it that way. They made the scrolls up by chapter and verse versus an entire Bible. So the idea that it could have held a book of days or a Bible is unlikely unless it was used for that in a later period. So it could have been made in 1150, and then someone used it after 1150 to put their Bible after. It wasn't until the late 1600s that Bibles were published enough so that the common man could open one in church. And it was around the 1700s where Bibles were finally arrived to the richer people in their homes. So none of that precludes the idea that it could have been cast in 1150. The motif indicates that it could very well have been, and that it had a history along the way, at which, and sometime along that history, it could have held a Bible or a book of days once those became common. So I have never questioned its provenance. That's what he said. I assumed it fit, the motif fit. Well, that all changed when the discovery of a very similar chest. It is not the exact same chest. There are differences. When that chest appeared in the Detroit Institute of Art, and it was indicated by the curator that it was gifted, it was donated to them in around 1969, and that it had been identified by one of the other curators who had expertise in that area as having been from around the period of the late 19th century. So that would have been around the late 1800s. So the question is, how there's lots of questions. Number one, is it Fenn's treasure chest? No, it's not. It's different from what the treasure chest that Fenn has shared photographs of for 8 years now, and the one that's in the museum. There are some very distinct differences, and the differences occur. So the thing about the bronze casting of Fenn's treasure chest, as well as the one in the Detroit Museum, you would have to weld the feet on. You don't cast the feet. You cast the box, you cast the top, and then you weld the feet on. And the feet on the one in the Denver Museum are different from the feet
Museum.
I'm sorry, the Detroit Museum, thank you, are different from the feet that are in the photographs that Fenn has showed of his thing. So there's also some other small difference. The floral motif, the floral patterns are different from one another. But what interested me is there's a possibility that someone could have made a mold from Fenn's, the one that Fenn owns, and then have cast it in the late 19th century. That's perfectly plausible because they do otherwise look a lot alike. There are some minor differences, but the minor differences could have been accounted for in the differences in casting. The likelihood that you would have two boxes with almost exactly the same motif, they're cast at different times, is kind of weird. If you're going to cast that box with that motif, you're going to do a bunch of them at once. So what that brings into question is whether or not Fenn actually has a box that dated back to 1150, and then B is what he was telling us the truth or not, and was the antiquities dealer who he referred to telling him the truth or not. The point is, and this is a conversation. So I'm going to go back to a conversation that Shelley and I were having this afternoon, and a lot of what's in this chase is familiar to me as the belief in God and the religion associated with that belief. And Shelley knows how I feel. We're going to discuss that tonight. Shelley knows how I feel about that. But she brought up this topic, so I'm going to let her explain what she said this afternoon and what it means to the chase. And I don't know whether you might be offended by some of this stuff or not, but I think it's important that it be said, and we would like to talk about it. We'd like you in the chat room to talk about it or call in and talk about it here in just a minute. So why don't you start with, so I called Shelley this afternoon when I was running errands, and she brought this topic up. So I'm going to let her start now.
All right. This all came up because I was listening to an interview that's on YouTube about does God exist? And the guy who was talking about it had put a lot of thought into it. He's an astrophysicist, scientist. He's big in Google. He knows a lot, and he had been researching this topic for a while. So when he was talking, it came to me that the chase itself could be equated to a type of religion, a similarity to a religion in that it has a lore that is associated with it. There are more questions than there are answers. And he spoke about religion being like a vehicle, religion or faith being like a vehicle. And inside the vehicle is carrying spirituality, governance or a system of laws, a metaphysical explanation of the world, how it came to be, and why we're here, and a propagation that continues that religion on, whether that be go out and have many children and bring them back to the church and that sort of thing. So, again, I was like, well, this is what we're doing. We're propagating this mythology, this religion, this cult. We're propagating it here tonight on this YouTube channel. It's been propagated through the books, the interviews, the videos, and just the chat and the forums and all the many ways you can propagate a mythology that's got this metaphysical explanation, the science behind it. Why did Fenn want to do this? You know, how did he do it? All the little details of how it was accomplished. Then we have this system of laws, which is the poem in the book, and which is what we were given, just like we were given a Bible to follow along. And here's your answers. Just like religion, it's very confusing to most of us. We look at it and we say, what does this mean? And how do I interpret this? And well, we need an interpreter. And there's never somebody who's able to pin down the absolute truth of the statements within the poem or the book. And then you have that spirituality of just being, oh, this is a journey, and you know, we gain life experience from this journey, and we gain friends, and it's all about the journey. It's not about finding the actual treasure. It's always about the process, not the product. So in that, this is all within the container of having faith that this is real, that there is a treasure, that the treasure was put into this treasure chest, that the treasure was hidden in sometime in 2010, somewhere in that time frame, that Fenn hid it himself by himself, and then he wrote a book about it. We're accepting all of this on faith. That is the encapsulated modality that we're going with here, that this is all true. So when we begin to pick it apart and ask questions and find lies and untruths and exaggerations, does it all fall apart at that point? Is it all unraveled? And do you say, well, if this isn't true and this isn't true, then how can any of it be true? And I give up. None of it's true. So at what point do we get there? Toby?
I'm going to answer, but for a moment, I seem to have locked up our respective screens. So let me figure out what's going on here. Okay, there we go. I got it back. So I could hear your voice, but I couldn't hear I couldn't see you moving. I don't know what the other folks in the room could see or not see. So hang on, let me see if we got any problems with that. Let's see. Okay. So Eric is saying that your voice is going in and out. It's that attenuation thing that we're dealing with. I still haven't figured out what it is. So the point that so we had this as I said, we were having this conversation. I was driving we fixed the freeze frames. You see in just a minute, guys. So we were having this conversation as I was driving around running errands this afternoon, and it struck me that there are, I think I said, 4 things that you have to believe. You have to believe that Fenn assembled a treasure. You have to believe that he hid that treasure. You have to believe that that treasure is still in the place where he hid it. And you have to believe that the poem describes the location of where he hid that treasure in either a metaphorical or allegorical way. If you don't believe that, then it's real easy to start picking it apart because it's the same level as faith. If I were to say to you, that there is a God in the sky above or wherever you believe the God is, we have to do that on faith. We don't. There is no evidence that Fenn. There is circumstantial evidence, right? There are photographs. There are of the treasure. There are people who said they saw the treasure. There is the story, his story of hiding the treasure, and his continued telling of that story all along. So you have to believe those four things. He assembled a treasure for whatever reason. Doesn't make any difference what. That he then hid that treasure when it doesn't make any difference because he told you about it in 2010. That the treasure is still there and that the poem describes how to get to that treasure in, again, either an allegorical or metaphorical way. If you don't believe that stuff, then don't waste your time looking for the treasure. Now, we got to number 4 because I believe Fenn assembled a treasure, hid a treasure, and the treasure is still there. My problem was I couldn't figure out the allegories and the metaphors in the poem enough to find the treasure, and we were spending money and time looking for it. So that's why we stepped away. If you could probably spend the rest of your life picking at the idiosyncrasies in Fenn's story, but you don't need to. You either believe those 4 things or you don't. You don't have to waste time picking at the and I think that's what this treasure chest and you guys know as well as I do that the finding of the treasure chest in the Detroit Museum Institute of Art Museum has caused a bit of a stir, and as a result, some of that has come out in the form of accusations at Fenn. Right? It doesn't make any difference. Either you believe the treasure is still there, that it was placed there, is still there, and that the poem describes how to find it, or you don't. All the other stuff is white noise. And what Shelley brought up the point, and this is, I think this is true in the case of Shelley, is that Shelley is a very trusting person. And that if you lie to Shelley, each time you tell a lie to Shelley, and I know this, I don't know it to be true because I lie to Shelley, but I know how she treats it, right? If you tell a lie to Shelley, she loses a little bit of trust in you. And if you tell a second lie, and I think she'll give you a little bit of a break, but it isn't much of a break. And eventually, she doesn't trust you anymore because she knows you lie to you. So the question you have to ask yourself, at what point do the idiosyncrasies in Fenn's story start affecting your ability to trust Fenn? The other things that he said. He assembled a treasure, he hid it, the treasure is still there, and the way to find it is in the poem. But there's these idiosyncrasies that you have to deal with. So that's how kind of the relationship between religion and God. If you look at religion, you can start pulling it apart piece by piece. If you look at God, you can start pulling it piece by piece. But there's only one or the other. Either you believe in God and you can accept the idiosyncrasies that go along with believing in God, or you don't have to believe in God and you don't have to deal with idiosyncrasies. And we think that's what happens, is every time something new is discovered, like the similar chest in the Detroit Institute of Art Museum, it creates a whole new level of questioning and idiosyncrasies, and it always going to get back to either you believe it's there or you don't. And if you don't, then don't waste any time. Don't spend time on it, It's painfully expensive in both time, effort, and money to do this. So I don't know who's. Give me a second. Go ahead and do some talking. I've got to take care of a problem we have in the room because
Alrighty.
apparently he doesn't get it.
Okay. So when I was watching this video, it all came down to one very important thing, that ask yourself, is the belief empowering? If the belief is not empowering, then it's time to let it go. So if you believe that there's a treasure and you feel good about that and you feel empowered to find it by using the poem and the book, then that's good. Go for that. But if it's not empowering, if you feel like I'm never going to figure this out, I hate it, I hate what I'm doing, I'm wasting my life away on this, it's time to let it go. So I think that's where we're at. We have either or.
Yeah, Mitzi, we're not debating religion. We're using religion and the belief in God as an example of how the how whatever level of faith you have in the Fenn treasure. So,
It's an
uh,
allegory because most people are familiar with
yeah,
religion.
yeah. So ES, I took care of Google, whatever he is. He's gone, so you don't have to worry about him anymore. Okay, let me get back to thank you for that. Thank you for that conversation. I'm glad
Mhm.
that we had it. So let me get back to the text messages. This is from Matt. Oh, hi, Matt. Matt Brewer. If nearly all of the places in the Rocky Mountains where warm waters halt are north of Santa Fe, then logic says there are at least one, but not many more, of these places south of Santa Fe. So my question is this. Would the New Mexico fishing regulations pass the proof for warm waters halt, waters flowing into New Mexico and trout? Water flowing into New Mexico designated trout waters south of Santa Fe. So if you look at the way the New Mexico fishing map is constructed, what you have to understand is that New Mexico is divided into warm waters, trout waters, and special trout waters, and that special trout waters are subsets of uh, of trout waters. That the demarcation point for warm waters is the point at which warm waters halt, and there are actually very few places in New Mexico where warm waters halt and trout waters begin, because all our rivers flow from north to south. And so that's what screwed us up when we were in Cimarron. The only place, so our, and Matt is talking about my designation of the New Mexico, what we concluded was trout waters trout waters begin at the New Mexico border, the Rio de los Pinos. I think we counted one time there are 13 rivers, 13 bodies of water, flowing bodies of water that course from Colorado into New Mexico. There was only one of those that coursed into New Mexico on something other than private land. That was the Rio de los Pinos. The trout waters began at the New Mexico border because the state of New Mexico says that's where the trout waters began. The waters above that are not trout waters. Therefore, we believe that whether it's Colorado calling them or that or not, they are then warm waters. They are not trout waters. The trout waters begin at the border. So, from area code 408, this is from Paul. Did Forrest say anything about the treasure being the same now as it was when he had cancer? Basically, I am asking it if it could have weighed less than when he was sick than today. I don't know that we have any indication. What we do know is that between the time that he got the idea for the treasure and started, quote, assembling it, unquote, that it changed. So that the treasure that he started out with and some of the photographs that you see of those early versions of the treasure chest are different from the later ones. So we do know that it changed, Paul. We don't know how it changed. We don't know whether there was more gold nuggets and less trinkets or whatever, but that it changed over a period of time, and that the last iteration, the one that he hid, was different in content from the first iteration. But we don't have any record from either Fenn or any other source of exactly what those changes were.
But keep in mind, it's going to be around 40 pounds because the chest itself is a good 20 pounds, pretty heavy. So even if he traded out paper money for gold coins, it's not going to change a whole
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
So,
So you got to remember the 42 pounds that he claims that the entire package weighs. I can't remember if if it's 20 pounds worth of chest and 22 pounds worth of content, or 22 pounds of chest and 20 pounds worth of content. In either case, whether it's 20 or 22 pounds worth of content, the changes that you could make over time wouldn't have a large effect on it. It wouldn't be 10 pounds different. It might be a pound either way different, because his objective, of course, was to fill the chest. So this is from Paul in Texas. Hello, Toby and Shelley. Forrest Fenn said he had a gut feeling that the chest would be found during the search season of 2018. Later on, of course, he said his gut feeling, he wasn't as comfortable about his gut feeling. Searches Forrest said he didn't want to do anything over 15 years. He sold his business in 1988 when he got cancer. 15 years later would be 2003. 15 years later would be 2018, the year he had his gut feeling the chest would be found, and it was not. I have a theory, good, on maybe why it might not have been found. I really appreciate your opinion. Thank you. We know that Forrest Fenn operates on a 15-year calendar. Do you think he anticipated the finding because his spiritual belief, or is it possibly orchestrated the find on that particular year as to puppet master by words and comments to move searchers to the chest? Maybe his plan was foiled from a natural event like a fire that would have prevented searchers to go into the particular area where the chest was hidden, and because of that it was not found. Paul, yeah, so what's the best way to say this? I guess I don't agree with that theory. I don't agree that with any theory that Fenn is intentionally orchestrating the finding or the not finding of the poem. I believe Fenn is like a benevolent God. He just watches. He just watches us do our stuff, right? And occasionally he pops out of heaven, his Fenn heaven, and he flings a lightning bolt like gut feeling down at us. But for the most part, he lets us, if you remember the stories of the Roman and Greek gods, basically the Romans and the Greeks believed that their gods pretty much just watch them do their human things. And to some extent, any Western god, and a lot of the Eastern gods are exactly the same way. So Fenn is like that. He sits up there in Fenn heaven, and he watches us running around and making
Fenvin,
things.
we
And
call it.
pardon me?
Fenvin.
Fenvin, yeah, he sits up there in Fenvin and he watches us in all our machinations and wandering around, and occasionally he probably laughs at it and throws a lightning bolt at Toby every once in a while. And but I just don't think that he's manipulating the search, and I think the reason for that is because he's sooner or later he's going to pass away and he won't have any control over it anyway. So why spend the last few years of your life trying to control something that eventually you would not have control of anyway? I think the idea was, I think Fenn and I have one thing in common. Well, I think we have a lot of things in common. Not that Fenn would be happy to hear that, but I think one of the things that we have in common is that neither one of us expected to live as long as we have. He for his own reasons, me for mine. So I think the fact I don't think there's any desire for him to have this treasure found by flinging some little hint at us. I think he does that just to jumble up the, watch the humans run around and go, oh, gut feeling, it's me, etc., etc. So I just don't. I don't have any sense with your theory, and we all have theory. This is my theory. My theory is that he's up there in Fenvin, watching us run around, little human beings run around, and every once in a while he tosses a lightning bolt down at us to get us all energized to doing something else that sounds crazy at the time that we do it, I guess. So,
Although our doors are similar,
pardon me?
I said, although our doors are similar, except for the doorknobs, no, we're not in the same house. Toby's about 30 minutes away south of me.
Oh,
Somebody asked if we were in the same house.
oh, mine are
'Cause our
silver, yours are
doors look
gold.
alike.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
we
no,
are not in the same house.
yeah.
Shelley lives in a house up north of me, and I live in an apartment down in near downtown Albuquerque. So I've been intrigued about where Fenn family hid their camping supplies every year near Yellowstone. He said that no one ever found their camping supplies. This is where I figure the treasure is hid. Could be. No idea. I, I, that's as good a possibility as any other that we've heard. So, FYI, curator told me. Oh, this is from Cindy. So,
Mm.
this go look at last week's or this week's latest "Who's Your Sisters" video because they discussed this Detroit Institute of Art situation with the extra chest. So this is from Cindy, who is one of the Who's Your Sisters. Cindy Guess. Curator told me someone wanted to purchase the chest on Tuesday. Oh, that should be damned interesting. That's a museum. Museums don't once they add something to their collection, the likelihood of them just selling that outright is slim to none unless they have a reason to start clearing out their collection. I'm sure that poor woman has gotten a dozen calls since someone. I'm not even sure where the discovery came from. I know they discussed it on Dale's site, and I know the Who's Your Sisters discussed it in one of their recent videos. So, Toby, what are your thoughts on the word that is key, perhaps solving for it, provides overall context for the poem? Cheers. It's from Trip in Nashville. Yeah, that's Trip. That's one of those things that we've just Shelley and I have picked apart every word in the poem to determine which one is key, and we've just never come up with anything that was reasonable. We thought for a long time the key word in the context of ciphers was treasures because that's the one that makes the most sense. But that was one of those mysterious writing responses that that was a lightning, but one of those lightning bolts came down from heaven. We all jumped around, started looking for the word that is key, and I don't, to the best of my knowledge, there might be someone out there that's not talking about it and has figured out all of this stuff and is close to discovering the treasure. But I can only speak for ourselves, and we can tell you that your guess at the word that is key is as good or as bad as ours. So because we can't tell you what it is. So this is
Hey, I have a question.
yeah, from
Huli says,
someone in the room.
yeah, Huli says, what do you think about Forrest Fenn giving Tony DeCoppel the Fenn family ramblings and rumblings? Do you know what that is? It's capitalized ramblings and
So
rumblings.
Tony DeCoppel was an NBC reporter. He worked for Huffington Post. He did a couple of stories, and I think it was for Huffington Post early on in the chase, and then he did a couple of videos related to it, a couple of video news stories related to the search. Or to Fenn, and he was offhandedly critical of Fenn. He said some things that had he known Fenn. I know he hadn't been back, but I don't know that he had any contact with him. I don't know, Huli, if you're talking about a recent contact. The only contact I remember between Tony DeCoppel and Fenn was the two stories that were done back in around 2013, 2014, one of which I've never been able to find, the second part of Tony DeCoppel's story. He's now a producer at MSNBC, and he's engaged to, what's her name? The one that does the 12 o'clock program. I forgot her name. She reminds me of my daughter. She's a lot like my youngest daughter. But they're engaged to be married somewhere along the line. They both come from
Katie
news
Tour?
families. Pardon me?
Katie Tour?
Katie Tur. Yeah, they're engaged.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, Holly. I don't know what else went on between. I know that Fenn and he ended up not on good terms because of some of the things Tony said in the follow-on story, the second story, and that's the story that disappeared. I haven't been able to find it. I looked for it for a while and then kind of gave up on it. So here's somebody else that says Shelley, or oh, that's the same guy. Never mind. Okay.
I'm so amazing.
I read something about Forrest Fenn saying if you were standing at the chest, you would see pine needles, pine nuts, and sagebrush. Then he said said something he wished he hadn't. Do you think the something was in specific statement or something prior? I'm paraphrasing. Also, do you guys do this every Friday? Which yes, we do this every Friday. Although Shelley is not always on camera, and the whole pine nuts sagebrush thing, he retracted in a way because somebody pointed out to him that
Pignon.
you wouldn't find pinon nuts and pine. There was something about the combination of pine needles, pinon nuts, and sage that didn't work. That wasn't ecologically correct, and so he retracted it. Because he retracted it, the statement probably doesn't have as much value as it did when it sounded so good the first time he said it, because that's what it did. Wow, we are getting. What do you think is the undetermined clue and too far to walk? I do not believe it is the absence of Canada on the map. Thanks, Ebenezer Scrooge. That's a made-up name, I'll bet. Um, so I always
Ebenezer's a real name.
I thought that the unintended clue and too far to walk was the mention of that hike that he took about along the Madison River when he was young, he was walking along the Madison River from point X to point. He mentions that it's 10 miles, and then he said he'd always wanted to go back there. It's in the preface of Too Far to Walk. That's where I thought the unintended clue was. Later on, he indicated that he thought he might have thought of the mention of it not being above the Canadian border as the unintended clue, but there was never any real clarity on that in either case. So you can pick your own unintended clue. Toby, why would it take for you guys to do this twice a week again? Oh yeah, that would
We
take
will
me.
next week.
Yeah, well, we're going to be on twice a week next week, but one's going to be Fenndango and the other's going to be the softer side. So,
And the panel.
oh no, we are. That's right. We are going to do a panel now. We
Week.
do have, as we've told you in the past, AGK Media is going to be opened up to other people, and at least two of them are going to do Fenn-related production, and I'm sorry, at least three of them, and two of them have said that they want to do panels. So you might be seeing more panels on AGK Media, although they won't be ours. Right now, the only time you're going to see Shelley and Toby is going to be on
Thursday.
Thursday at
1.
1, and then again Friday at 7 p.m. Thank you. I'm 70, okay? I like this whole week. 70. Okay.
Are you? I haven't heard that all
And
week long.
all week long.
I'm 70.
Um,
I'm 70. I'm 70.
What are your thoughts about the Home of Brown? This is also from Matt. Home of Brown, we believe so we believe that the whole context, the allegory, if you will, the allegory for the poem is fishing. Right, so that the context for the poem, if you're building a metaphor, set of metaphors and an allegory, you have to have a context. Otherwise, it starts falling apart. Each one can't be different. So we believe the context for the poem, our opinion on the matter is that the context for the poem is all about fishing. That everything in the poem is about A, the treasure, and B, fishing. And so we believe the Home of Brown refers to a very specific location along the Rio de los Pinos that has longevity, and we found those places where you would find brown trout, and indeed we found some there. What are your thoughts on where warm waters halt and the Home of Brown being within 50 miles of each other? Who we believe, yeah. Well, yeah, they are, but we believe that the warm waters halt and Home of Brown are less than 1,000. Well, there's some place. So, Matt, again, we believe that the first clue, that is warm water salt, and the last clue, blaze, quickly down thing, we believe that's less than 1,000 feet. And there's a couple of videos that go back to September and October where we explain that a man who's dying has to consider the possibility that he's going to die and that he's not going to walk or drive 50 miles to do a treasure hunt. He's going to go someplace that he's comfortable with, and he's going to walk a small distance. He's going to put the treasure down, and he's going to lay his body around it, take some pills, and die. That's not 50 miles. That's not a 50-mile hike, a 50-mile drive. It's less than 1,000 feet. So but we've said
Well,
that before.
didn't Forrest Fenn indicate that he followed the clues in order when he hid the treasure? Uh, so indicating that, you know, he would kind of like, okay, I'm
Homer
at
Brown, boom.
I'm at where warm
Yeah,
waters
yeah,
halt. Here's where I'm starting.
yeah.
Now I'm moving forward. Okay, now I'm at the home of Brown. Okay, moving forward. And then if he, if he followed all the clues in order and he did it himself while he was hiding the treasure,
And
it
he
couldn't
was
be
planning to
50
do that.
miles.
Yeah, and he was planning to do that while at a point at which he was dying from cancer because that's what he thought was going to happen. So, yeah, we're talking 1,000 feet max, maybe even significantly less. So we don't think you should be taking 50-mile drives all over Yellowstone Park to find the treasure. So here is a two-part question. Speaking of allegories, I believe it's chapter 3 of The Thrill of the Chase, the one with John Charles. Yeah, wasn't that a good story? So I wonder what his father's sign is. Who is John Charles? What do the mountains involved in a jar represent? Is this his clever way of calling this John Charles an SOB? I think, Ralph, that it has two things. I think John Charles stuck enough in his memory that he wanted to take a shot back at him because it is unlikely that John Charles would have become a self-made millionaire, and that he was poking a little poke at him. But I also thought that the story about the olive jar was important because, of course, the olive jar ends up in the treasure chest containing some additional information. In one case, it's his biography, and in another, there's a lock of his hair. So the olive jar has some importance, and yeah, we believe that the reference to the olive jar is in some way helpful in understanding how the poem fits together. But not everybody agrees with us. As a matter of fact, to the best of my knowledge, nobody agrees with us. Okay, let's see. Okay, pine nuts. What is your opinion about people asking to put an end to the search because people dying in search of chest? Well, first of all, I think it's silly because people die every day doing um, lots more. Um,
College student who died because of the cold.
yeah,
You
college
know,
student goes out.
go inside. It says so on the
It's
news.
cold. He wants to
Don't go
find
outside.
out what it's like to feel the cold. He ends up dying. So I don't think anything. Let's put it this way: if they can't stop selling guns after 30,000 people a year dying as a result of gun violence, and this is not, I'm not making a political statement, but if you can't stop that, why? And you can't stop 37 people dying from kayaking accidents every year, and you can't stop 12 people dying in Yellowstone every year from sunstroke and heart attacks and all these other things. Why stop the treasure hunt, right? I don't. We actually did a program and this is meant not to be any disrespectful to the people that have passed away. They knew what they were doing. They make choices. There's a sense that you have to take personal responsibility for you instead of the world taking care of you. The world can take care of you in some ways, but the simple fact of the matter is most of your trip through life is a trip of personal responsibility, and you have to make good decisions. Most deaths are the result of most deaths out in the outdoors are the result of bad decisions. Bad, taunting a bear or walking along a scree slope that you shouldn't be, or trying to get across a river at spring thaw. Those are bad decisions, and it's not something that all you got to do is follow rule number one, the Forrest Fenn rule number one: don't go where an 80-year-old man can't go. And I stick to that rule. And Shelley will tell you that there have been times where we're going someplace, and my reaction to it is Fenn wouldn't have gone here because I wouldn't go there. That's just darn crazy. So take a 10-year-old with you, and if that 10-year-old is telling you that's not someplace they want to go, don't go.
I don't know. 10-year-olds are,
I don't know. They're pretty adventurous
some of them
nowadays,
are
aren't they?
pretty
Yeah,
brave.
yeah. I got a couple of those. Do you have an opinion on warm water salt that may be tears? Yes, my opinion is that I can't make it. I tried. I no, I'm sorry.
Tears?
Tears. I've never tried to make the connection.
So,
It was just
so that would
a
be
little
from a
bit.
person's eyes?
Uh,
Unless a person is never moves anywhere, how could it be that? Because it's got to be a point that doesn't move,
right. Yeah.
right? To
Yeah. Warm
start.
water salt has to be a location of geographic precision. So if you can make a connection between tears and a location of geographic position, then it's possible. Michael Hool, the Wednesday panel is at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. That would be 1900 Mountain Standard Time. If I said 1300, Shelley and I have a show at 1300
On
on
Thursday.
Thursday, but the panel is 7 p.m. on Wednesday, so you can still be there and not worry about the kids. Let's see.
The usual panel time.
All right. Why would he wait until his last days to hide it? He seems like the kind of guy who would do it while he was still strong enough before the pressure for hospitalization from his family, etc. In other words, he's terminal, but not incapacitated. That's the time I think he would go out um, while he can still enjoy the walk as much as possible, then take the pills. Um, Hypothetically, yes, but the simple fact of the matter is, at that early point that you described, hypothetically, he was dying. He expected that this was all brought upon the fact that he had been told he suffered the cancer. They removed the kidney, and then he was told that he had a couple of years to live. The implication being that he was still cancerous in one way or the other, and so he was sick. He was sick of cancer. And I don't know about you, but a 70-year-old healthy guy, it's not and none of these things are easy for a 70-year-old healthy guy. So you can imagine what it would be like I wouldn't take a cancer patient up to the places that we go. It would be silly to do that. So I think he had to do it in the context of he was expecting that he died. But again, all of that is either your idea on it or my idea. It is hypothetical because of course, none of that happened. He starts telling the story at Moby Dickens about how this was all going to happen when he's die, and in that paragraph he finishes with and I spoiled it because I lived, right? So all of that was hypothetical, and I think that's how we stated it. Let's see. I agree. These people doing something that they didn't have interest in. Has Forrest Fenn been on stream, and would there be a time soon? Forrest Fenn, the likelihood of Forrest Fenn appearing on a Toby Eunice Shelley Carney stream is, I would say, slim to none. He has asked us to do streams of the various events, and that's, I think, because we have the technology, and he knows that, and he knows that for whatever differences we have, I wouldn't say no to him. So we have done streams of him at various events, but I can't imagine. He might be on somebody else's stream, but I don't think he'll ever be on a Toby Eunice stream. Okay, so that's all the questions here. So I'm going to open the phone line. So if you're ready to call in and do a phone call, the phone lines are open. So come on,
we have a question debated in the chat room.
We have 28 minutes.
Which I think is kind of cute. It's like, when are you no longer a noob or a rookie in the chase? I think my opinion is you're no longer a rookie when you stop saying, I know where the treasure is.
Yeah. Good. That's good. Yeah. Noobs and rookies all know where the treasure is. Those of us that have been for all the people in the room who have actually been boots on the ground, they will tell you, I don't know where the treasure is. I go out, I like the Rio de los Pinos. So I like the Rio de los Pinos.
But we'd go there whether or not the treasure's there.
Yeah, that's true. We would go to and we are.
And there's a train station. It's fun. It's a fun day.
Yeah, if you ever get to that area, you go through the Osier train station, Osier train station.
Oh, sure.
If you get there between 11 and 12, you can enjoy the $13 lunch. You have a choice of turkey or meatloaf.
Right around noon.
Right around noon. You'll get to see that ancient train.
Bring cash.
get to talk. Bring cash. They take neither checks nor cards.
Yeah.
Although we were up there often
A
enough that,
nice lunch. That lots of food to choose from.
yeah,
Lots
yeah,
lots of food.
lots of desserts, lots of different drinks. We got our first call. So let me take this call, and we're going to go to that. Hey, you've reached AGK Media on our channel. First of all, before we go further, turn the audio on your computer off. Otherwise, we're going to get a feedback. And then you can tell me who you are and where you're calling from.
Yeah, this is Adoniram Judson from Texas.
Hey, say your name again because it sounds very biblical. But
Adoniram.
Adoniram.
Yeah,
Nice name.
it's not really my name, but
Oh, okay. But is it
that's who I go
biblical?
by.
Does it have a biblical foundation? It sounds biblical.
Well, no, he was Adoniram Judson was the first missionary from America
Oh, all
to
right.
Well,
go
missionary
to Burma.
Yeah. So, all right.
Anyway, the thrill of the chase, looking high and low. I wrote that music. I asked you to play the song.
Oh, we did play it, didn't we? Yeah, we played that, right?
Yeah.
So
Once.
somebody.
Not today, you didn't.
No. Somebody asked for
it. You played it back in October.
Yeah, and that wasn't. It wasn't because I couldn't. I mean, it wasn't because I didn't want to. It was because when someone asked us that, I didn't have access to it at his moment. But I'll play it for everybody next Friday because it's kind of a cute song. It was really good. Have you shared it with anybody else?
Yeah, I've had a lot of people email me that you gave my email address, and I sent it to them.
Why don't you do that if you don't mind? Tell me your email address. So if anybody wants the Thrill of the Chase song that I'm going to call you A because I can't pronounce your name. That A wrote.
Okay.
Send him
You can call me AJ.
Okay, AJ. So if you want a copy of the song that he wrote about the chase, the thrill, it's called The Thrill of the Chase. Send an email to. Go ahead.
Saint Lindcrest7 at Gmail.
Saint.
And I'll spell it.
Go ahead and spell it.
SAINTLYNCREST.
Lindcrest. Saint Lindcrest.
7.
Number 7. Is that right?
Correct.
At gmail.com.
Right. And I like your thing. I know where the treasure is, but I'm not a newbie.
Yeah. So you know where the treasure is. Well, as I tell everyone.
I just want to share with some of those people out there some thoughts about the clues. If you don't mind.
No, go right ahead. That's why we open up the phone lines.
All right. Well, Forrest and his family drove up to Yellowstone every summer for 3 months. And they probably stopped at Warm Water Picnic Ground, or it's called Warm Creek. And Warm Creek is fed by Warm Springs, which is across the road. Warm Creek is a tributary to Soda Butte Creek, SBC, soda bottle caps. And that's in his book. That was one of the things he collected was soda bottle caps.
Mm-hmm.
So the warm water's in at Soda Butte Creek.
So let me interrupt for just a second.
It goes down in a canyon called Icebox Canyon. And then there's another canyon after that called Soda Butte Canyon.
So what state are we talking about? I'm not familiar with that. Since I'm a New Mexico hunter, I'm not familiar with that.
Well, it's like I told you at the beginning. Him and his family used to go to Yellowstone.
Oh, I see.
Every summer.
And they
for
stopped.
3 months.
And they stopped at Warm Creek Campground.
Warm Creek Picnic Ground.
Warm Creek Picnic Grounds. All
right.
You
can Google that on Google Map, and it'll show you. Now the bad thing is you can't find Warm Springs. But if you did a geological map, an old map of Yellowstone, it'll show on there that Warm Springs fed into Warm Creek.
Got it.
And Warm Creek ends at Soda Butte Creek. And if you take it in the canyon down, you come to Lamar Valley. And Lamar Valley is mentioned in the Journal of the Trapper which I'm sure you recognize that book,
Mm-hmm.
that he said he read it over a dozen times.
Russell Osborne's book.
It's one of his favorites.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. Now, it just so happens that place right there at Lamar Valley is right below the home of Ranger Gary Brown.
Oh.
And there's a double thing here. It's the home of the brown bison, because the bison were almost hunted to extinct, and they started raising them there at that same campground where the ranger station is. So that's about all I'm going to share with you.
No.
You have to have a good map,
right,
and to figure out the rest.
So,
and I agree with you. You have to have boots on the ground.
Yeah.
To find the blaze.
Mm-hmm. So, AJ, quick question.
Go ahead.
The distance from Warm Springs Picnic Ground to the home of Brown that you just described, that area that you just described, what's the physical distance there?
I would say between 10 and 15 miles.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And I believe if you've ever been down there to Lamar Valley, it's no place for the meek, because it's just loaded with wild buffalo and coyotes and wolves,
right,
and bears.
A lot of nature there.
And yeah, definitely get the bear spray, because the bear spray will work on the buffalo too.
Yeah, yeah. So we haven't been that far north. We've been to Colorado and Wyoming in three different recons. We've never been that far north.
Yeah,
but
okay.
we are thinking about.
I'd share that with some of your viewers and let them get on their Google map and try to, because I'm stopped at one spot. I have to have boots on the ground to go a little bit further, but I figure that's enough to whet a lot of people's appetite.
Well, that's a lot of information. Thank you for sharing that with us. And when do you expect to make your next trip up there?
Probably around May, before school lets out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's when, because once the families are up there trampling around, it's hard to get anything done.
Yes, sir.
Mm. Well, AJ, thank you for calling in. And for those folks who haven't heard AJ's song, please email him. He was very happy to share a copy of that song with us. We played it on one of our shows back in October, I think, November. But we haven't played it since. So that's why there was somebody earlier in the room asking about it. So that's the song that they're talking about. You can have your own version. But I think...
I also remember, if you saying something about giving somebody $100 if they could put it to rap music.
What? I did not say that. Did I say that?
Okay.
I don't think so.
Why?
That wasn't you.
No,
that wasn't you.
Oh, okay.
I would remember that.
Yeah, it's rare that I make offers like that. I've always said, if you have a solution,
I'm working on a rap song for you.
Oh, okay. Well, if you have a thrill of the chase rap song for me, let me know when, and of course I will play it for you. That I will play.
All right, you guys take care.
All right, you have a good evening, sir. Thanks for calling in.
Happy Groundhog's Day.
Thank you. You too.
As long as it's not the explicit version, right?
Yeah, as long as it's a real Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day.
No, I mean the rap song.
Oh,
because some of them are pretty explicit.
Yeah, they are. But hey, that's kind of rap. Groundhog Day is really weird, because if you ask my daughters what Groundhog Day is, they refer to something taking place over and over again. Their Groundhog Day, but contemporary kids' Groundhog Day is based on the movie, as opposed to why we have Puxatawny Phil, Groundhog Day.
It's
Telephone lines.
Stupider than that. I mean, neither one of them is good.
So we got about 17 more minutes before the end of the evening. You guys have been a great audience tonight. We've had a lot of fun. We've had a couple of problem visitors, but they've been taken care of. Thank you, ES. Thank you for that. I know you do your best to control those situations, but that was one that just had to be taken care of the hard way. Joining the BBT club.
BBT
So
club.
I was in another room last night. I was in was it last night or 2 nights ago in Christie's,
Last night.
and somebody was there were several people that not I don't want to say yelling at me, calling me out because I blocked them in this room, and I suggested they should probably start a club, the BBT club, the Blocked by Toby club. So I only block you after you've broken the rules and been offensive. So if you've been blocked, it's not because it's not because you're a saint, you know. So yeah, so join the club. I'll do that. All right. So I don't since we don't have any more calls tonight, I think let me see if I've got all the questions answered. Oh, you know what? Who was it that was talking earlier about the photograph that where I am in a robe? It was on Jason Dent's show. I just got it. That's what I was trying to. That's what I was trying to show when everything locked up. So, and I just may have done it again. Hold on. Let me see if I didn't do it again. Talk to me. Okay, hold on just a sec. Let me see if I can get this up.
John Werner wants you to show both chests side by side.
Oh, John, you know what? I didn't set up those two pictures. I do have them. The problem is that
a blog post?
Pardon me?
Can you do it in a blog post?
Yeah, I can do it in a community. I'll do John, I'll do it in a community post on this channel sometime tomorrow when I get some time. So hang on just a second. Let me see if I can bring this up without knocking us out again, without freezing us up again. Hold on. Chrome, YouTube. No, it's not Chrome. It's... No. Anyway, it is a stick drawing of me. It's a stick drawing of me. I don't know how to. Let me describe it to you. So it's a picture of Jason Dent. It's obviously some sort of thumbnail that he did, and it's got treasure hunters. It's him and his glasses, and then it's got stick figures of Jason, Sasha, Rick, Bill Gorman, and then me, and I'm in a robe. And it looks like I'm strangling a couple of cats. I don't know what that's about. Cat strangling? So hang on, let me take this call. Hi, you've reached Toby Eunice at AGK Media. Who's calling and where are you calling from?
Toby, this is Fat Boy. How you doing?
Hey, Fat Boy. Fat Boy. I was so offended you were calling me Fat Boy. Were you responding with everything you were saying in the chat room, finishing with a Fat Boy?
I feel horrible, too.
So did you find the treasure or did you go look? I know we had a cold front come. You're in Kansas, right? You were probably freezing your butt off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't so cold here, but I tell you what, I didn't even go look because I thought it was probably too dangerous to be out there in that kind of cold looking.
Did you and I not have that conversation?
Go ahead.
Did you and I not have that conversation last week?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
And somebody had given me some thumb information about getting into this place. I found out the other day that they've got about 2 foot of snow on the dirt road that leads back into there. And you can go in there if you can get in and out. But I don't think my truck would make it in there and out.
Certainly not at this time of the year and after that cold front went through, because I know it was primarily targeted at the Midwest because it came down from Canada, but it did reach some of the areas in Colorado. I think Colorado has had a relatively mild winter because I know we usually get the same kind of weather that Colorado does at a lower level of effect. Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, that student that Shelley was talking about earlier was a student that died I think they were in Kansas, right? They were at a school in Kansas. Yeah. So they just went out they went out to see how it was to be in that kind of cold and ended up dying because what happens when it's that kind of cold is your lungs freeze up. So
right.
Oh, she retracted it. Mitzi said she was making a comment about the cats. Let me see, but she retracted it. Mitzi, she said I'm in the robe because of my hoo-ha stories. Not sure what that means. And could the kitties represent, and then she put like quote marks. So I don't know. Remember the kitty story? Remember who did the kitty story? Journeyer, the one about the kitties. Remember the one with the dog with the long tongue? Somebody did a parody. Could be the kitty story. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
No, don't worry about it. So what you got for me this week? So are you going out next week? Or do you feel like you've got to start from scratch because the bum information?
I don't think I'm going to be able to get in there till spring, actually.
Yeah, I would say that's the wisest thing to do. Nobody's going to be at this point in time. Nobody's going to beat you to it. And maybe if you wait till February 6th when the 6 questions come out. I'm sorry, February 4th, Monday, when the 6 questions come out. Maybe there's a little tidbit in there for you.
Well, there might be.
Yeah, I mean
mention the word fat boy and see what he says.
You know what?
I'm telling you.
If Jenny asks a question like, Forrest, how do you feel about all the activities on YouTube when they talk about you? And if Forrest at that point says something like, well, I'm okay with it for most of it except fat boy. So we're going to have to figure out if he's talking about you or if he's talking about me.
Toby, I've got it right down to the square foot. I'm telling you.
Really? Yeah, and you don't want to share that with me, huh?
Well,
okay, wait.
Share it with you face to face, but I'm not going to share it with everybody.
So but this is the solution, the theory in your theory in Colorado. Is that right? You can tell me. Did you tell me?
I'm not going to say what.
Oh,
state
okay,
it's
all
in.
right. Not even what state, huh? Wow.
No.
Holding it close to the chest.
If you'd find out my starting point, you'd figure it out real quick.
Really? That must be a dang good starting point. Where is that?
Yeah, and the guy that was talking earlier about Soda Butte Creek.
Yeah.
He's not close.
He's not. So you're the only one. You've got this figured out.
I am the gut feeling guy.
Okay. All right. Well, you know John Wayne Bobbitt, our friend John Wayne Bobbitt.
I know who you're talking about.
John Wayne Bobbitt. He's John Wayne Bobbitt was the guy who is famous because of the damage that his wife Lorena did to him, and his recovery. You haven't heard that story? Do you know John Wayne?
Oh yes.
Okay. So he's a friend of mine, and we talked this last week. And whenever we talk, he always talks about how much closer to the treasure he is each time we talk. And he referred me to a YouTube channel run by a guy whose name is Rex Nye. And for the life of me, I can't find the channel. So any of you guys, if you find this Rex Nye channel, just throw me an email and tell me where Rex Nye is, because apparently Rex Nye gave him all the clues that he had. But there was something else. You know what? When we were talking about the well, I'll tell you after you and I get done. Let's talk about your solution. So here's the deal with your solution. I will wait, like you, until the weather gets better for you to go out. And then I will do an instant, you find the treasure, come down to Albuquerque. We'll do a live stream. We could tell everybody that you found the treasure and they don't have to waste any more of their time or money doing that. Okay?
As long as Forrest Fenn's there.
Oh, he's not going to show up. Forrest Fenn and Toby Eunice are like oil and water in the same room.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, you sound such a nice guy.
I think I am, right? I think I'm a nice guy. Shelley thinks I'm a nice guy.
Well, Forrest is pretty nice, too, but...
Mitzi thinks I'm a nice guy, I'm sure. But apparently Forrest doesn't think I'm a nice guy, so... Yeah, I know. Shelley, do you think I'm a nice guy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm a okay guy.
Yeah, so, tell Shelley I said hi.
Oh, well, she can hear you. You tell her you said hi. She can hear everything you say.
Hi, Shelley.
Hello.
So, yeah, we got this all hooked up now. Anybody calls, they can actually, you can call, and if you want, you can have a conversation with Shelley because she can hear you.
But can they hear me? I don't think
Yeah,
they
That's
can
all
hear
right. As
me.
long as
Yeah,
you
they
can
can.
hear me, that's okay.
I don't want to call you fat boy. That sounds like so offensive. Can you hear when Shelley talks? Shelley, talk.
Can you hear
cannot.
me?
Can
No.
can you hear Shelley?
I said no.
Oh,
No.
okay. All right. Okay. So that's the next thing I've got to solve.
I have to be
That's-
So you
there.
don't want to call me fat boy?
No, I find that I wouldn't want to call because I have to deal with I have to personally deal with those issues myself. What's your first name?
I tell you what, won't you just call me Mr. T?
Mr. T?
Yep.
I mean, like Mr. T, like from
Pity the foo.
huh? Pity the Foo.
The 18.
From the 18?
The A Team. Yeah. Okay, Mr. T. I'll remember that. Not that
Kinda.
Mr. T. Okay. I don't want to call you fat boy. I don't want to. I don't any more that I would call Mitzi Moore, skinny blonde. I don't. That's not very fair. So.
Oh, my
Oh.
dad's called me fat boy ever since I was a little kid.
Your dad?
Gordito.
Oh, yes, that's my nickname.
Oh, I shouldn't because my dad had the Spanish version of that for me, right? Gordito.
What would that be? Like grande muchacho?
No, gordito is fat boy in Spanish. Gordito.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, he called my sister the queen and I was gordito. Yeah.
All right, well, I'll get off the phone here so you can let somebody else on the phone.
All right, brother. Thank you for calling in. We'll talk again, I'm sure.
All right, Toby, you bet we will.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I have a comment from Vanetti who says, what would it take for you guys to come back impromptu twice a week?
Wow.
How about $500? That would work for
$500.
me. What about you?
I would do it. I could start doing it Mondays and Fridays, but I don't think we have that many. But I think he's the only person that's saying that. So Jerry Stone says, AGK, do we people in the room have to pay you money for you to answer questions in the chat? What is your price to chat with people in your room? Jerry, it actually has nothing to do with money. You can ask the questions. The problem is this chat where I'm trying to manage a control board, 3 different control boards, hold a conversation, watch the phone, do all it takes to make sure that it is rare that I get to look at the chat. I don't get to see the chat half the time until afterwards, which is why we ask you to send it to the toll-free number, because I will answer the question. If you send a question to the toll-free number, I'd be happy to answer that. The chat is going by so quickly and I have so many things going on here.
And he's 7 years old.
And I'm only 7 years old. That that I can't see it all. But I'll tell you what, if you have a question, ask it in the room, but make sure you know what to do. See what Vanetti has done, and he does that whole @ AGK Media. Well, when he does that, it pops up in orange on my screen. So if you do that and it pops up in orange, I'll see if I can get your question answered. You can always use Super Chat, but I don't want to force you into the idea that you have to pay. I will answer any question on any topic for any reason as long as I can see it. Okay. I just can't see it all the time because I am trying to do a lot of other things. So, Sledneck, hit the Super Chat, $500 a room. Now, I would do it for free, but I would do it for free for the heck of it just because I like doing this. Toby, old school says, Toby, see, I can see this one now that you have me focused on the chat. Toby, are you still looking in New Mexico? We stopped looking in October any place. Old school. We are no longer looking for the treasure. Jerry Stone says, 70 years, you look great. Thank you, Jerry. What a nice thing to say. I feel great. I feel great, too.
Better all the time.
I was having lunch with my oldest daughter today, and she was complaining about feeling old, and I'm going like, you're 40-something, for God's sake. Okay,
Chasing them boys around.
Pardon me?
Chasing them boys around.
That's where I went today. That's where I went after lunch.
Saw the picture.
Yeah, it was grandparents' day at the boys' school, so I went over there. So Holly says, AGK Media, you should start a consultation fee to poke holes in people's theories and stuff is hilarious. Oh, I don't mean to. I just
We can't. I mean, we can only holes we poke are to say stuff like, okay, we're not going to look in Canada because Fenn said this.
right. Yeah.
So
So
we
it's
can do that. But if it's
yeah.
like there's
If
no proof against it, then there's no holes to poke because
it,
we don't know where it is.
right. If there are holes to poke, it is based on what we know about what Fenn has said. AJ Rainville. So is this the same AJ of the music? He said, where is the chest? The chest is in a nook, in a little nook, just above Toltec Gorge on the Rio de los Pinos, below the state line between Colorado and New Mexico. So if you start at the state line, Colorado and New Mexico, you go about a half mile down river, which in this case is, I know it sounds crazy, but it's east. You'll find the beginning of the Toltec Gorge, and there are about 1,000 places in which he could have hidden it there. That's the problem. You can get to the general area, but once you get there, the number of places that leave the potential to hide a 10 by 5 treasure chest, or whatever the size is now, are innumerable, and that's where it gets crazy. You could spend the rest of your life looking in one. If you got it down, and we have drone footage of the area, and I took the drone footage and I organized it into 100 square foot quadrants, and then I took one of those quadrants and just eyeballed it and counted the number of potential hiding places in that one 100 square foot quadrant. There were 991 potential hiding spaces in that one 100 square foot quadrant. That's how crazy this is. So at that point, you say to yourself, I'm 70. I don't have them. I don't have that much time. I want to do other things with my life.
To get you a sign.
J.A. Street. Toby, I believe in aliens. Do you? I believe there is the potential, just based on the numbers, for for life on
We actually
other.
like to call them immigrants. So.
Oh, is that what you're talking about? Do you mean like alien immigrants, or do you mean like aliens, people from other planets? So, scientifically speaking, mathematically speaking, the likelihood of there being life on one of the hundreds of billions of other planets that are out there, I think, is very good. Whether or not they have the technology to visit Earth and thereby see, because they don't become aliens until they're actually here, right? Mm-hmm. Until they actually visit Earth. Mm-hmm. So I do believe in the existence, the potential for the existence of life on other planets. I don't believe that we have been visited by any of those life forms. So I guess I do believe in life on other planets, but I don't believe in aliens. Does that make sense?
Alpha Centauri.
Alpha Centauri.
And they have really large heads.
Yeah, filled with brains. Let's see. World famous gamer, sub me, y'all. What? Oh, world famous gamer. World famous. The reason it's blocking your comment is because you're asking people to subscribe to your channel. But I'm going to show it. So because I think you're an okay guy. So world famous gamer has this really interesting channel where he talks about Forrest Fenn playing chess, making music, and playing games. I mean, it's like a totally varied, really interesting, stay up late at night. And his thoughts on chess, he's actually doing a course on how to play chess. So for those of you who have never played chess and would like to learn, you can learn from world famous gamer. Let's see. Sledneck, I think you are Forrest. Okay, Sledneck. Must listen good. AGK Media, you can't get down the river into the Toltec Gorge if you only go 1,000 feet from the border. No, we've measured it. It's 850 feet from the border to the opening of Toltec Gorge. Now, you can't get down Toltec Gorge from there, but right there at the opening, and it's very distinct, that area that is the opening that leads you down into Toltec Gorge. In addition to that, literally the gorge goes up a steep rocky side, so you'd have to walk down the middle of the river. But we've measured that distance. It's 850 feet. So I got Toltec Gorge. Toltec Gorge we got that down pat, and we've got drone footage of the entire area. So Let's see. Things have taken a turn. Sakar. I don't know. Sakar, Sakar, we're always trying. Denise Bagley. Not Dennis. Denise Bagley. I think Forrest likes you, Toby. You're a likable guy. I don't see any reason he wouldn't. Denise, I have given him reasons not to, but one has to get through life, hell or high water. Let's see. Condor soar above his special spot to him in an old interview. Have you discussed that in the past? Bob G. Says that Forrest has discussed the joy of watching condors soar above a special spot to him in an old interview. I have not discussed it because I've never heard that prior to you saying that, Bob. I've never heard Fenn mention, that doesn't mean he hasn't. I've just never seen anything, I've never read or heard anything in which Fenn used the word condor. Sorry. Sledneck is Forrest Fenn. Really, Forrest is in my chat room, disguised as Sledneck. So,
yeah.
Let's see. Sakar came back in just as we were talking about aliens. So the question, Sakar, somebody asked me if I believed in aliens. What I said was that I am. There's a high probability that other life forms exist on other planets. They don't actually become aliens until they visit Earth. And in that sense, I don't believe in aliens. So that was my limitation. Sorry you walked in like at that point,
Because
like, what the heck?
Stars.
Okay, stars. Billions and billions.
They exploded. And a billion years so later, there's us. So why not others?
Okay, so world famous gamer, I warned him about something. Was that a joke that I missed?
What, me?
Yeah.
No, I was explaining how aliens could exist.
Yeah.
But, we wouldn't exist if it wasn't for blue-green algae. So.
Yeah, you were absolutely right. So world famous, I don't know what he's doing tonight. He's talking about, so he says, speaking of subs, I got me a sub sandwich today, and I'm doing a healthy eating diet if anyone wants to join me. And YouTube is blocking him because he's using subs.
Yeah, well, they're all talking about subs now.
Okay, guys, anytime you use subs, YouTube is gonna throw you out. I would like to learn more to look for clues. Paladin Fenn has said that he is spiritual, not religious, but spiritual. He's never indicated if it's a brand of spirituality. Based on what I know about him, he's that sense that he is of a spiritual nature, not necessarily a particular brand thereof. Jerry Stone says, thanks for entertaining the show. Yep, treasure in New Mexico. You guys are great. Thank you, Jerry. Shelley's great. I'm just her partner.
I thought it was amazing. Did I go from amazing to great?
Yeah. Oh.
Wait, which one's better?
Well, Jerry is spelled with an I, so it's a lady. So maybe ladies don't think you're amazing, that you're just great. No.
Maybe they're the same thing.
Shelley is amazing,
great,
guys.
Amazing, great.
Shelley is amazing, and I'm her partner. By the way, here's this thing that I wanted to tell you. If you do a search, hang on, let me find it. What are you doing over there?
Well, you stuck your hand in the camera, so I did it too.
Okay. Hold on.
People are watching with their 3D glasses.
I don't know what's going to happen to all of this in just a second. So I do want to tell you. So this is going to look terrible on OBS. Hang on. Oh no, it doesn't. Okay, hold on. I need to find this, so I'm going to get out of it for just a second. And it is called. There is a video on YouTube. I can't find it. Okay, I got to put this back. Hang on, guys. Let me get this back. So otherwise it's going to look funny. So there is a video on YouTube. I can't remember the name of it, but it is a guy who back in, I think, 2014, using images from the Fenn treasure, images of the Fenn treasure, was asked by someone to cast the Fenn treasure chest in bronze, and he does. And they made a video about it. And what's interesting is at the start of the video, so it's called Max Cast something. Look up Max Cast on YouTube. I think that's the channel name. In 2014, they're in Kansas, if I remember correctly.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
He cast an exact replica of the Fenn treasure chest from imagery that whoever asked him to cast this presented images of the Fenn treasure. And from that, he made the sketches and the things necessary to cast the chest. It's on YouTube. I was going to show you the channel, but it messes up our screen. So I'll put it in the link. I'll put the link in the description box below. Okay. Wow, we're at 9:09. Okay. So, Shelley?
Yes.
Hang on. Say your good nights.
Thanks for being with us here tonight, for all your great comments and questions.
Thanks for joining us. We had a great time. We'll do this again next Friday because we have so much doing it. And don't forget, if you have any questions, you can text them to 866-597-9901, or you can leave a voicemail of up to 2 minutes in length, and we'll answer those questions next week. And Shelley will do her flamingo. Say bye.